Welcome back to the BYU Football Signing Day special on BYU TV. We're breaking down each and every signee, transfer, and return missionary with the head coach, Bronco Mendenhall. All that remains, the return missionaries on the defensive side of the ball. So let's bring on linebacker Philip Amoni out of Orlando, Florida.
Yeah, so Philip was with us before his mission. Fast, athletic, tough, and I like who Philip is. He's a great young man, and I think will help us a lot at the inside backer spot. Coach Howell was actually the one that went all the way out to Florida to find him, and just from what I saw, he'll be very good.
On the linebacking crew is Austin Heater out of Pleasant Grove, Utah. I jokingly say maybe no relation to John Heater, Napoleon Dynamite. I don't know. Can you confirm that for us, Coach?
So Austin Heater is that's pretty good, yeah.
Well, that's good, yeah.
So Austin played both ways actually for us as a freshman. Started as a linebacker in terms of position. We played him some at fullback. Really good special teams player, fiercely tough, very competitive, and an absolute perfect fit at middle linebacker for us.
Up next is a guy that had major national attention from Kaysville, Utah, and Davis High School, and that is Troy Hines.
If Troy was part of this class and maybe this generation, all the ESPN top this, top that, number of stars, Troy is all of that. There isn't a better player that I think has ever come out of the state than Troy. And so that you add him already to a strong defensive class, our linebacking core going in to this upcoming year, in terms of the number of players, the size of the players, and the speed and the athleticism, in 3-4 defense, I'm not sure there will be anything close to it anywhere.
What did you see out of Troy that kind of makes you want to give him the distinction of being the best to ever come out of Utah?
So not only is he tall, he's physical, and those two things usually work against each other. So he's tall, he's physical, and he's tough, but then he's fast and ran, if I remember correctly, like 11 flat or 11 100 meters.
Good grief.
Being as 6'5" or 6'6", 230 pounds, that just doesn't happen. And so that he's coming now with Tyler Cook and Uriah and Fred and Sione and all the others. I mean, we have a chance to be very fast, very athletic, very physical as a defensive football team.
We're back into the football families in the linebacking core. Va'a Niumatalolo, straight out of Annapolis, Maryland.
So Va'a came and earned a scholarship just in a short time at BYU, a son of Kenny Niumatalolo, the head coach at Navy. I love the work ethic of Va'a. Disciplined, as you would expect, as a coach's son who's the head coach at Navy, but man, fiercely obedient and absolutely knows about how to play good football. And so I can't wait till he comes home.
Back now to the California recruiting pipeline with Adam Pulsifer out of Temecula, California.
Yeah, Adam, big, physical, tough, and again, we're heavy on linebackers. What we found is we need as many players, not only on the field defensively that can run and tackle and are physical, but for our special teams. And so Adam, again, is joining our program for the first time, but is tough, is physical, and is big. And so besides just being inside backer that maybe is quick and active, we're at size with Adam.
On the defensive line, Tanner Baldery adds more depth to an already really strong position.
So Tanner is super active, and we'll be using him in a number of different ways. Besides maybe just in base defense as a defensive end, he might be standing up in the nickel package. He might be rushing off the edge. He's relentless. He's super tough, really active and physical. So when you watch this high school film, wherever guys are being knocked down and there's blurs going across the field, that was him. And so he doesn't look like the traditional defensive lineman in terms of size, but he's a really good football player. So he'll be kind of a hybrid for us as to a way in nickel or maybe even a dime package where he's out there doing something that's pretty unique.
Tanner representing Sherwood, Oregon. Also on the defensive line, Steven Richards. He comes from nearby Sandy, Utah.
Yeah, so Steven was a great tight end in high school, and we really, for the system we were running and are now, he's going to fit better as a defensive lineman. As he was one of those guys that kind of captured my heart when I went into the school, or our coaches went into the school, and he was squatting and then flipping tires and doing all this strongman kind of thing. And he comes to our camp and just works like crazy. And he's rugged, he's tough, and he's physical, and so I think he'll be a great defensive end for us, is where I see him.
We say aloha to those watching and supporting defensive lineman Graham Rowley from Waialua, Hawaii.
Graham is one of my all-time favorite people. Really a good player. Played a lot for us before he went on his mission. I remember recruiting him, and he lives basically on a family compound in Hawaii where relatives are all close together out in the space. There's a surf break close enough where you can walk to it while they have this whole other kind of community family thing happening. And then he came here and just played so well, and he's back and working out like crazy. Instant help at the defensive line.
Did you get a chance to go surfing when you were recruiting Graham?
I didn't, which is one of my greatest regrets. I was young and naive back then. I'm more seasoned. I should have scheduled my time knowing you could do both, but back then I was a little bit more just one-dimensional.
Fair enough. Maybe Graham can hook you up with that later on.
I got to go back.
Okay. On the defensive line, Kesni Tausinga from South Jordan, Utah.
Yeah, so Kesni didn't come to BYU first. He went on his mission first, but he'll be playing nose tackle for us. Right at about 300 pounds, light on his feet, super tough, super physical, and could play right away as a freshman from what I've seen. He's already with us mid-year. Hard worker, loves football, and really has set high goals for himself. So I like the way our defensive line is going to look in terms of depth.
He's another one of those wrestlers as well.
Exactly right. And wrestlers mean strong work ethic and great leverage. And that's defensive linemen at BYU.
And earlier you said those are some of your favorite people to coach.
Yep.
By now, everybody understanding the wealth of talent on the defensive line, Travis Tuiloma, another guy from Kansas, Topeka, will only add to it.
Travis played a lot for us as a redshirt freshman, and so you add him and Graham, as well as Kesni, and the others that we've already talked about, Tanner Baldry, and our existing players in our program. It could be up to 3 deep, maybe even 4 deep at some positions, which that's a great thing, not only for practice, but the games, because you can just keep going contact and contact and contact and getting your team tougher and more physical and setting a mindset, which is hard to do without enough D linemen, and we have enough.
Let's recap all of the return missionaries on defense. And I'll ask you this, what kind of a difference can this group make, not only just in the future, but right now, next season?
Instant depth, instant maturity, instant leadership, and instant chemistry. And a lot of defense isn't only about talent, it's about how bad you want to play. And a lot of times when guys have been on their missions, they can't wait to get back to play. And so it adds an excitement and an appreciation to be part of football again. And sometimes if a player's been here a couple of years and the work is just the work and the work and the work, they might forget what it's like actually to not have it. When the missionaries come back, they can't wait to do it. And it doesn't take long before there's an energy about the group that is more fun.
Only one return missionary on special teams exclusively, and he'll have a chance to compete for a downright critical position, and that is a kicker, Corey Edwards from Hurricane, not Hurricane, but Hurricane, Utah.
Well, the first thing in yellow there is the grandnephew of Lavelle Edwards, so that makes a strong recruiting prospect right away. But yeah, we lose Justin Sorensen, and we need someone to kick it through the uprights. Justin, after struggling his junior year, had a great senior year. I think at the highest percentage that BYU's ever had in kicking field goals, and so we need someone, and hopefully Corey could fill that bill.
How is the kicker position shaping up in terms of competition right now?
There isn't much competition, and so we're kind of with our eggs in one basket to this point, and that could determine, based on how well we do there, whether we're more aggressive on 4th down or possibly field position management, those kind of things. So a little bit unknown at that point.
I know that Scott Arlano handled the punting duties last year. Is he still in position to continue that?
Yep, Scott has actually earned a scholarship and at the punter position. But we also have a player that is exceptional running the football in Paul Asike, who is a rugby player. And if you watch him rugby kick the football, he's
not bad. He's
pretty good. There are other options that we have that I can't talk about today just through non-letter of intent, etc. But we expect some competition.
Can we expect some fake punts then as well?
There's a likelihood. I think it was 1 a year ago. Yeah. We'll at least double that.
Okay, I like that. That's bold, Coach.
Yeah, it's bold.
You ready to go there?
Me too.
Let's look at all the return missionaries again. 18 of them. What kind of a challenge will this influx create for you and your staff?
It's part of what we anticipated with the missionary age change, with the standards increasing at BYU, but also that's what we want and it's who we are. I think we're very well equipped for it. I think we're the best in the world at helping missionaries come home, and it's what we want. And so not only are the players excited to be back, we're excited to have them back, and most of them can be ready if they give us enough time, which is many are here at mid-year, which gives us the best chance for them.
With the age change in availability for missionaries already clearly impacting your program, what's been the biggest difference that you've noticed as the head coach?
The biggest difference is really managing when and how they go. Most now, because the age change means they can go right after high school. What that does is puts them back right after high school, which basically means they'll have a very difficult chance contributing in their first year because there's just not enough time. And so working on by position, and then working on timing of when to go to make sure that's the priority to give them their best chance to do both. That's something that we're finding is part of the conversation more than what has been before.
I believe only 4 returned missionaries last year, 18 this year. What's the trend that BYU fans should get used to as we move along?
More of this.
Okay.
There's so many young men that are going, the majority of our team being LDS, up to almost 70% being returned missionaries. And so now when more are going, more are coming back. And so for at least one more year, a small signing class, and then we kind of catch up to having it be balanced out a little bit more to where we can add some more numbers. And so this is at least one more year's worth of what the fans can see.
Undoubtedly, coaches do most of the heavy lifting in the recruiting process. How much of a role do the players take in this?
You know, we really have a unique formula because we don't have many recruiting weekends. Most programs have 5, 6, or 7 or a recruiting weekend every weekend because their players that they're battling for are not committed. We basically have one giant weekend because most of our players are already committed. So our current players really host one time. And it's fun to have players come and want to be a host. And what we do is we actually select the best representatives of our program rather than who's most like whom. And to make them comfortable, we do just the opposite. We set the highest mark from our standards and for our players that are hosting so the players can actually see this is what BYU looks like. And they want to. I'm talking about our players. They like to do it and they're very effective.
Seems to be working.
I think so.
Okay, your assistant coaches have worked their tails off. And I'm hearing that now is vacation time for them. Is that right?
If you consider Wednesday afternoon and Thursday and Friday vacation.
Okay.
So they get 2.5 days after starting in August till now. And so Holly and I had a little present for their wives today. They are the real warriors as they don't see their husbands much from August through the season and see them even less from the end of the season to recruiting. And so they're the ones that we're actually worried about, not the assistant coaches, because they've had a hard and long season, and so it's a great chance for the wives to now be taken care of, and our coaches to maybe add more balance to their lives.
That's a nice shout out, and I'm guessing that will earn some points with Holly.
Holly's the boss,
okay.
And so all those ideas come from her. I just follow.
That's a fair answer. It's always difficult to pick one guy that can be an impact player out of a group like this. I know you were super high on Ului, and you talked about some other guys that can come in and make an immediate impact. Who do you feel like will contribute now from day one as you go ahead to the 2014 season?
I never know who has the best chance. All I can really say is the receiver position is probably the biggest target on our team. And so our existing players in the program that are playing that position and others coming in, that's where we need to make the biggest jump in terms of productivity within our offensive scheme and stressing a defense. And so rather than just say a player, that's the area that we need the most attention.
You mentioned earlier in your press conference on BYUtvsports.com you went head-to-head with USC on 4 players, and you got 3 of them.
Yep.
Are Steve Sarkisian and the Trojans now kind of your de facto recruiting rival?
Oh, I'm sure what they'll say is that they're in transition and different things. While I don't view this as this class only versus SC, all that I was really trying to highlight is there are players from a lot of different conferences that are being recruited by a lot of different conferences and high profile that are choosing BYU. We have something no one else can provide. And they're seeing that, and there's a unique blend of not only faith but athleticism and academics and social environment and football that no one else can do. And BYU does it better than anyone when you put all that together, and those kids now are seeing that, and our assistant coaches are working harder than ever to help them see that. And so that was just one example of what's working.
I'm looking at the list right here. Arizona, Texas, Kansas, California, Utah obviously, Alabama, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Hawaii, all of those states. Was that a cognitive effort, like a purposeful effort to go out and broaden the horizons?
We will go anywhere to find players that fit at BYU and belong at BYU. And again, with Jeff Martson, our player personnel director, we now have someone full-time that's all they're doing is finding who belongs here, who fits our needs, who qualifies, who can help us. Our assistant coaches now are more effective. And so the net is just expanding through efficiency, which has happened by just adding one personnel person who's very skilled.
Coach, I'm going to give you the option because you did such a great job. handshake or a hand pound? What do you prefer?
That's a hand pound. That's not even close.
Boom.
Okay, thanks.
A+ analysis from the man in charge, Bronco Mendenhall. Two guys that played underneath Bronco, David Nixon and Brian Logan, will offer their thoughts on this signing day class next.
They get to talk on the show?
They get to come and do this.
Oh, man.
You may want to prep them. Give them a little bit of a heads up.